We'll find out if we actually are.
Well, hi everyone. We are Dragonmount. My name is Kitty. We are going to be discussing the Wheel of Time on Prime's television show, episode 7 today. So it's the penultimate for the season. We only have one left for the official season 1. As we are also not paid by Amazon.
All right, we don't have any chat coming in yet. Making sure my speakers are all good. If anyone hears any kind of issues coming in through the sound, let me know. I just got the message from YouTube that we're live, so that's good. Who's coming in through the sound? I sound a little weird, apparently. I just heard myself talking on the thing, and I sound odd.
Oh, I thought you got a comment.
No, I heard myself, and I sound weird. I'm going to open this up. And I was like, I sound weird. I think I sound better now. I don't know. We'll find out. The stream seems to be paused for some reason. There we go.
Comment.
No, I there's a cat.
Yeah, you guys heard him.
Is he okay? Is everything all right?
Yeah, he's totally fine. He gets
Okay.
in these spazzy moments and runs around meowing as loud as possible because cats.
Fair enough. Hello, friends. Hello. How's everyone doing? Oh, hello from Charleston. That's cool. So that is the home of Robert Jordan.
Have you been to O'Gare Street? Because there's an O'Gare Street in Charleston.
I have been, but I don't know if Daniel Brush has been there. That is our friend from Charleston. How's everyone doing today? Let us know. To give us your overall thoughts on the show. We'll talk about them. I'll mention this right off the bat. Something that I wanted to just talk about before. 1 second. All right, Nick, we'll get to your question in 1 second. I just want to mention something real quick. So I have seen a lot in media recently, that Wheel of Time is doing really well. It's really high up there on the streaming, and my camera is crooked as shit again. Sorry, guys. Is really high up there in the streaming markets. It's doing very well, but no hard numbers. So I did some sleuthing, some internet sleuthing, and I can't find much, but I found a post that I'm going to share with you guys right now from Ukonwa Ojo, who is the head of global marketing for Amazon Studios and Amazon Prime Video. And she said, so here, I'm going to put it over our faces over here, so we're covered up for a second. Or you know what, I'll just cover up my face and I'll leave most of you guys there, because no one wants to see me. I don't want to see me, that's for sure. All right, there we go. So it's actually Ukonwa and Rosamund, and actually Jennifer Salk, who is the head of Amazon Studios, just the head of Amazon Studios, at the Wheel of Time blue carpet premiere. And she says, our best series premiere ever. So I'm like, she's not going to just say that. Maybe she's just like, yay, our best series premiere ever. But no, so I looked it up. And I looked up a lot of analytics, and it looks like Amazon is doing, the Wheel of Time is doing better than any Amazon show ever. Its initial premiere is the highest out of any Amazon show ever. So that's a pretty big deal, and I'm not entirely sure why we haven't heard a lot about that. But
Maybe they're waiting for the wrap up of season 1 just to get some actual statistics for a full season.
I guess.
That's my guess.
Hey Ian, hey Lynette. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. So, Jennifer Salk, again, I found a couple of interviews with her, and she's got some quotes. So, we can firmly say that The Wheel of Time is the most watched series premiere of this year, and that it's in the top 5 of all time. Mm-hmm. And then another one where she said tens and tens of millions of streams in the first 3 days of the initial release.
That's
and
awesome.
Then it was top in the US, India, Brazil, Canada, France, and Germany, which are those are the top media consumer countries. So, they're in the top 10 media consuming countries. Then there was the series' first 3 episodes at launch were the highest completion rates on the service ever. That's huge. That's huge. Mm. And then it's definitely trending to exceed our expectations, which were already high. So that's pretty good. Then I actually checked out this analytics website called Parrot Analytics, and it shows, and I could show you guys what that looks like. Parrot Analytics shows, like, I won't get into the crunchy details, but it basically can look at the average views of people, like the desire to watch the show, and then it rates it on a level of average, good, outstanding, and exceptional. So The Witcher, here, I'll just drag this over here. Let me minimize that. So I'll just drag this over here. So The Witcher is currently 27.6. Oops, I just closed it. But The Witcher is currently 27.6 higher than the average. So that's pretty high. That's a pretty high show, you know. And for those who are actually seeing this bar here, it's in the outstanding range. And then Hawkeye, also pretty big show, right? Like that's doing pretty good. That's a little bit higher than The Witcher, 33 times higher. It's in the exceptional range, which is 0.2% of media in the exceptional range, right? I'll just leave that there. And then The Wheel of Time, 40 times higher than the average media consumer, nice. Like the average media. So that's pretty big. That's really, really, really big. And that's not even all of their analytics. That's just how, that's not even all of the analytics that are out there. That's just how this particular company assesses analytics. So, like, I'm just curious as to why we haven't seen a lot of media coverage on how well The Wheel of Time is actually doing. And I would just be really curious to know, like, the actual hard numbers. I don't know. I know Amazon is kind of vague. They don't really give hard numbers for anything. But it really seems like Amazon might be like the greatest, like doing the best out of all Amazon Prime series like ever. So I'm interested to know if that is true or not. You know, like we've seen some vague posts. Like I said, the one quote from Jennifer was the series' first 3 episodes made available at launch also logged some of the highest completion rates on the service ever. It's a big deal. It's a big deal. That's what I'm saying. I just think like that if it is doing that well, I think all of the people involved in the show deserve the acknowledgement. So I just want to, I'm just curious. Anyway. So,
yeah, it'd be nice to see more data.
Mason, hello over there. Ooh, Saskatchewan. We got a Canadian friend tuning in. All right, so just on what we just said, The Witcher isn't as good as The Wheel of Time. They really lucked up with Henry Cavill. That's true. That's true. Especially because I feel like if Henry knew that they were making a Wheel of Time show when they asked him to do The Witcher show, he might have like campaigned to do The Wheel of Time instead, because I know he's a huge Wheel of Time fan.
Yes, but he's the lead for The Witcher.
Yeah, yeah. I could see he would make a good land too, though. I think like that's not lead, but it's up there.
Yeah. Anyway, we should go back to the question.
Yeah. All right. So Nick Murphy asked, what are our opinions on the Tinkers as portrayed in the show? He was disappointed that how they were portrayed. He said so darkly. So I'm guessing like muted colors, maybe.
Oh,
because they weren't.
I don't care about that. I just think they were fantastic because it kept their spirit and showed how powerful nonviolence can be when they link arm in arm to protect Egwene and Perrin. Like these are people they barely even know, but they're going to use their bodies as a shield against the White Cloaks. And when Aelia got hit, and like she just gets right back up. I mean, that is a perfect portrayal of the Tinkers, I think.
Yeah. What about you, Kitty?
If we're going with the colors, I think we briefly touched on this in another one, but we have to realize that they have to go with what's possible in nature, not with chemistry.
Exactly.
And, petrochemicals, which we're used to with the neons. So if you actually go back and look and compare it to more like a naturally dyed South American weaving, it's the colors that they got to produce are very vivid for the natural gradients that they could use.
Hey Pat, how's it going? Yeah, no, it's like also like when we picture bright colors, like, you know, we're reading it in the book and we're picturing it in our head. We have an image that we're able to picture from our experiences. Like, we can see bright colors. Like, the bright colors that we get in our world, I feel like, are so much more vibrant than they're able to produce based off their technology, like you guys just said. Like, they don't have the abilities to make those colors. So, you know, we are, like, the word we have a predisposition on what we think of our bright colors, where I really think the way that the Tinkers were portrayed in the show is accurate to what colors would be like then. Like, they're, like, comparatively to the other people, other than, like, you know, the fact that they're dirty, like like they have dirt on them, so their colors are a little darker than they would be if they were clean. You know, that's a really good thing too, because a lot of the times in these shows when people are like traveling on the roads and stuff, like, they're like pristinely clean. Like, hell no. The dust alone that would have gotten kicked up, which they did great. Like, Rand and Matt, when they're traveling with Tom, they're covered in dirt, and it's just I think the Tinkers were great. To get back to the question, I really liked the Tinkers in the show. It shows, especially what's her face? I can't remember the actress's name that plays Isla. Mm-hmm. I loved her in Downton Abbey. Sorry, I just can't remember her name. She was great. Like, her story about her daughter, the juxtaposition between the darkness in her and them, and then how she, you know, applies it with the Way of the Leaf, and her attitude is great. I just think that was really good, in my opinion, for the Tinkers.
Yeah. Well, even though they preach nonviolence, like, she showed nonviolence because she was tempted to take the spear and go kill them. And, you know, she struggled with that. And that's amazing that you can have that desire, realize you have those emotions, and then still say, no, I choose not to do violence because there's no greater vengeance against death than life.
Exactly. Yeah, that was such a good quote. That was
fantastic. No, the Tinkers were amazing. Yeah. So amazing.
And I really kind of like what they're doing with Perrin, where it's like, I don't know if they're doing it, but in this latest episode, to get back to this episode, when Perrin and Rand are talking, Perrin is like giving him the lowdown on, like, the Way of the Leaf, like, and he's not like trying to sell Rand on it. I mean, he kind of is, but, like, he's like, you know, no, it's actually a pretty good idea. Like, you know, it's I like that they're doing that with him, because it's just another layer of how he can be non-violent, like, you know, because he tries to avoid violence. So it's just another reason why when he goes to commit violence, he might second guess. He's like, oh yeah, but that Way of the Leaf thing was actually pretty cool, you know? I like that.
Yeah, it's going to give his character more depth going forward.
Absolutely. All right, so we don't have any more questions specifically coming in about...
Let's start at the beginning of the episode and go from there.
That's exactly
what Let's start with Tigraine.
You read my mind.
Tigraine. Like, I don't have the experience of being pregnant. I don't know if either. No. Okay, so none of us.
Not as of yet.
As of yet. All right. There's always hope. But it was interesting also how it was filmed. So I'm going to go with the film point for that, because we haven't really seen the zoom in and then pause at the 3D, you know, like the spears. So this was the way that fight scene was actually filmed, to me, was vastly different than the rest of the series. As in, it was very much an interesting, like, pause and look, and then zoom and then pause and then look. And just to see how absolutely insane it was.
Yeah, it was great. My husband was like, oh, this is a first, like, real fight scene. And I was like, yeah, I guess that was. Like, we saw a couple little skirmishes, but, like, this is the actual, like, battle.
Yeah. And just to head this off, she was named Tigraine in the credits, so it's not like we're not really giving too much away there. She wasn't.
I hit pause and it said Tigraine.
Yeah. And if you go into the after stuff, or in the X-ray, it says the name of her character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because that freaked me out at first when we were talking about it on the podcast. I was like, no, don't say her name. Like, that's one of the biggest spoilers from like book 6 or something.
Yeah.
And then Kathy's like, no, it says it right there. I was like, oh, okay.
I loved it. I loved every second of it. I can only obviously I can only imagine, but she killed 6 so I wrote this down for I watched the episode several times by now, but I wrote down a couple of things specifically about this. She kills 6 people on camera. 6. And when she's running on camera, her spears are bloody, which means she's
at the beginning.
Yeah, she's at least fought people, probably have killed people, but at least fought people by then. She kills 6 people, not while pregnant. I mean, because that's a given. While actively in labor. Insane. It's insanity. And so she kills 6 fully trained armsmen, right? Some 2 at a time. She's fighting them. At one point 3 at a time.
3.
Yeah. And she's not even an Aiel. She's not even a full, don't get me wrong, she is badass. But comparatively, she all right, so slight book spoilers for people. Comparatively, she leaves the Westland or Ranland or whatever you want to call it to go to the Aiel Threefold Land when she's already in her either late teens, 18, 19, or early 20s. I don't remember the exact age, but she's the daughter of Erebandor. Imagine a fully trained Maiden of the Spear who doesn't happen to also be actively in labor. How badass they're going to be.
I cannot wait.
I can't wait.
More of the Aiel.
Can't wait for more of the Aiel.
Well, I just love how they tied in, like you said, we have all been saying, there's going to be flashbacks because everyone's like, oh, this show sucks because they didn't show Rand carrying Tam.
Right.
Well, there you go.
Right.
Those people are probably not watching anymore, though.
Yeah, probably not. Vicky Spano said, it's incredibly hard to just get up off the couch when you're that far along. I can't imagine fighting when in labor. It's fair. It's fair.
Good point.
Kudos for even doing all that. Yeah. That's good job, Mama.
Well, you grew a person, so that's enough. That is enough in and of itself. You grew a whole human being. What is this? Someone said they used a special multi-camera rig that runs on tracks for this.
Oh, yeah. Neat.
Amazon posted just about an hour ago behind-the-scenes piece where they show the camera setup that they used for that.
Cool.
That's pretty awesome. I'll look that up and see if I could pull some pictures onto the stream for that.
I can't imagine the amount of rehearsal for that, because it's not even just that. They also used the clothing, the cape pull. You throw in props besides weapons,
this was
so cool.
This is the closest thing that I've ever seen. It is to the dance with spears, accurately portraying the type of fighting that Robert Jordan describes in the books. Because I really have always liked the way Robert Jordan describes all the fighting, all of it.
Like it's a dance.
Yeah, the sword forms, when Blade Masters are fighting and when the Aiel are fighting. And this really looked like it. This really looked like a dance. The way that she was moving and counter moving to them. The choreography for this fight was amazing. Just amazing.
Yeah. So fantastic.
I want to talk also about one of the most badass fight scenes ever.
Yeah.
I loved how they showed his archery changing. Yeah, that's for the end. We'll talk about Rand in a little bit. The mother of the dragon has to be badass. That's fair.
Yeah.
Absolutely fair.
So.
And this is also prophecy. This is also the wheel is weaving this. So I'm not saying she couldn't have done it, but she's being pushed by something bigger than her.
Yeah.
And that baby has to be born. And the details of the armor, the bees on Tam.
Yeah, nice.
I loved the alien armor. That was so cool.
Yeah, I thwapped my husband. It was like, bees. He's like, yeah.
I want to cosplay as an alien companion now. Oh man, the other thing that was cool was something that I think Kathy or Rajiv might have mentioned in the podcast. Honestly, I don't remember. Your voices all kind of like blend together after I hear them for so long. And I just hear words at that point. But for those who don't know, I edit the podcast, so I'm listening like constantly over and over again. So like I stop hearing the voices, kind of just hear words. But one of you guys pointed out the catapults and the siege equipment. I think it might have been Rajiv, actually, now that I think about it.
I think so, Rajiv, yeah.
And it's not something that they really talk about a lot when you see war in the Wheel of Time. And I'm trying to go back to remembering, and I really think it's because we don't really see a lot of siege, like a lot of
we just hear about history of siege.
Yeah, but we don't see a lot of humans fighting humans on large scale wars like that, unless it's the Shanshan, and they're not using like physical siege equipment. They're using channelers. So
they're using physical people.
Yeah, well, that's a horse of a different color of an issue, but yeah, the with the Shanshan specifically. But to see that in the Wheel of Time was interesting. It was definitely very interesting. So they were launching catapults at the Aiel because the Aiel don't use siege. So you see broken catapults laying around. You see the balls of like whatever they are, like either stone wrapped in pitch and hay that they light on fire, that's what they used to do in like medieval war, or it could be the one power. I don't think in the book they didn't. In the book they did not participate in even when they were fighting just outside the walls of Tarval, and they didn't participate. But they could change that for the show. But yeah, this entire scene was just amazing. I really think they did a good job with tying everything back to the beginning. This is what I keep telling people, like, trust the process.
Right.
Just wait. Stop saying they didn't put this in or they ruined this. Watch the entire first season and then say they didn't do or they broke or they ruined, because you haven't seen it all yet. You can't judge the entire story of the first season without watching it. So
I watched for 15 minutes and it stopped.
Oh my god! And Kathy also coined this term. I'm pretty sure because I haven't seen it anywhere else, and I'm using.
I've seen it. Other places.
Have you? The book cloak. Yeah. Okay. All right. So someone coined the term book cloak, which apparently people are using for like the trolley people that just hate on the show for no reason other than to hate on it, and I like it and I'm using it. I don't care. Rajiv didn't like it, but I like it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's the book cloaks.
Yeah, and the book is just such a different medium, and having that expectation that they're going to be identical is just really stupid.
Yeah. Lisa said Wafo, and yes, Wafo. All the Wafos. Just Wafo. Let it go. Watch the show and then make your determinations. Oh, man. So then we go... All right. Before we go into the Tam part of that, because that actually comes later, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so it just ends with she sees the sword in her face, and her face just like turns back into that mask of I'm gonna freaking kill you.
Yeah.
But she's like up against the wall already, so she can't. But just the fierceness on her face is incredible. I love it.
So good. The whatchamacallit, I just love these cold opens too. Like these cool. The previously ons are just great. I love when shows do that, especially when they do it like Wheel of Time is doing it. Like a lot of shows do it. It's not like Amazon coined this or anything, but
they do the what's going to pertain to that episode, not just this is exactly what happened in the last one. It's like, okay, you haven't seen this since episode 1. Here's a quick 2-second refresher.
Exactly, that's the thing I like the most. Like it's like, oh, this is going to be pertinent, and that's going to be pertinent. Ooh.
Yeah. And one interesting thing about that is, we've spotted Padan Fain everywhere, but when I was talking about it with my spouse, he was like, why did they show the peddler again? Like, why was he important? I was like, he was in like every single other episode. And he's like, he was? So
we had that talk too.
Yeah, so I just really enjoy that. It's there for us to notice, but not necessarily relevant to the whole plot line.
Yeah, I did last week, we had mentioned that I did that charity thing with Twatcast. Yes. I mentioned that on the Twatcast thing, and Joe was like, he's been in every episode? I'm like, dude, you haven't been paying attention?
I think he was not in 2. Or 3. I think 2 or 3. He was in Shadar Logoth.
He was in Shadar Logoth, which is episode 2.
And he was in Tar Valon.
And he was in Tar Valon, which is episode 3. I'm pretty sure he's been in every episode.
He's been in every episode.
Yeah, he's been in every episode. Look it up. But yeah, so someone in the comments go and check us out on that. But
maybe 4. Maybe he wasn't in 4.
They're all one thing in my head right now.
I know.
I remember when I said
can't separate them.
When I said it, I went back and checked, and I believe I was right. But stranger things have happened. I could be wrong. Mm-hmm. Someone fact check us in chat and let me know, and I'll call you out. What you call it though? I'll forgive Joe from Twatcast though, because he didn't, but his wife just had a brand new baby, so he and her are not getting very much sleep. So
fair, excused.
It's fair. It's excused.
Yeah.
Someone said I don't think he was in 4. Which episode was episode 4? So
that was the one where Nynaeve heals everyone.
Nynaeve heals everyone.
And Logain, the Logain heavy one.
I'd have to go back and double check, but yeah, that could be. It could be it. I think he's been in every episode though. I think that's been their goal. Maybe he's just really well hidden in episode 4. I'm gonna go back and check, and then I'll post on social media somewhere if I find him, or if not. And Tyler Knox, I'll give you a shout out because you're the first person that said not episode 4. That wasn't us. So. All
right. So after the badass opening scene.
Oh my god. Where did we go?
What was next?
What did we go right into from there?
That's what I'm trying to remember.
They're in the ways.
Right.
And
the ways.
Like, Matt, where's Matt?
Okay, so this is going to be my first. I'll let you guys go. You guys go first on what you guys thought of that whole bit.
I love that they did explain the ways and how they used to be within only like 2 sentences. Mm-hmm. Like, we didn't get this massive amount of exposition. They did mention that it was islands without saying, this is an island. Mm-hmm. And like how it used to be like fruit groves and grass. I appreciated that. And I really loved like hexagonal tile looking. Yeah. That was so cool. Mm-hmm. So I was a fan of the ways. And yeah, like we discussed before, the lightning was there just so we could see it. Yeah. Like, there's no way. Yes. So I'm totally fine with the lightning.
Yeah, there was actually like a little scene too there where like the lightning flashed and you could see the background and you could actually see the like stairs leading up and the bridges connecting different.
Yeah, and nothing underneath it.
Yeah, with nothing
just
underneath
a bridge across with nothing to support it, which was so cool. Yeah, so I like the ways too. The first time we watched, since we did have the screeners, was like on my tiny little laptop. Not the best quality, and it's got my email address like right in the middle, so it's hard to pick out all the small details. So watching it again on the normal TV on Thursday night was great. Because at first I was like, okay, it's kind of hard to tell, is it too dark? And it's like, no, it was really, really good. Well done. I really enjoyed everything about the ways.
I did not like the ways.
But why?
It felt like a set. Like it was. It just. First of all. And I'm not going to compare it to the books. Like this is just completely off the screen value of what we had on the show. They were in just this little narrow corridor for like walking in between these like stalagmites. Those are the ones that come up out of the ground. Walking in between these like stalagmite type things, and that's it. Like that's the only thing that we see is this one little narrow path that walks in between the stalagmites. Now, I will forgive the fact that, so we have to remember that, one, this episode was filmed directly following their COVID shutdown. So they were shut down for a few months because of COVID, which was it was unexpected that they were going to have to, that the whole world was going to get shut down. And this is following Barney leaving the show and the actor playing Intarly leaving the show. So there was a lot of rewriting, which cost money. There was a lot of reshooting, which cost money. There's a lot of re-editing, which cost money. So like, there's a lot of stuff that went into that. We don't know how much of the waves was done prior to them filming, all that stuff. So like, that's forgivable. But it's still a critique. I talked about it a couple of times. One of the things I was really, really looking forward to was like the feeling of the waves. Like in the books, at least when I read it, and this is the only this is the only comparison I got it out that I'll make to the book, is that the feeling that I got when I read the ways was just dread and fear. The way they described the silence in the ways and the darkness, the way it's oppressive and it
you can't see outside of the ring of the torchlight, and
it's not the same. The way they describe it though is not even just that. It's they think that the lanterns that they have and the torches they have should produce more light than they're even producing. Like the actual darkness is pressing in on the light. And like, I'm not saying that it should have been completely dark, because that's not here nor there, but that feeling just wasn't there for me, personally for me.
I can see that. It's definitely an interesting, how do you show with filming darkness and that you can't see, but how do you show that? Because you need to see it.
Exactly. That's
Right.
what I said, yeah.
With how important the ways are, yes, but then again, they had to move on and get out of them pretty quickly. So they showed that. I mean, she said we're only in here for 24 hours.
Yeah.
And like all we got, the vastness was with that flash of lightning. So I can totally see where you're coming from with that. It didn't bother me, but I can also understand how it would be a critique.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the other thing that I didn't like about the ways was actually just how short. Like, they were only in there for like what, maybe 6 minutes of screen time, like 5 minutes of screen time.
Yeah.
And like once they find that guiding, he says that it's like first it's going to take 24 hours, then they're asleep for a given amount of time. Loyal is awake the entire time reading the guiding. And then it's just like they're at the guiding and then they're at the gate, like instantaneously. There's a lot of ways. There's a lot of ways they could have shown time passing in the ways, or maybe not time passing, but given like the feeling of how much time is passing for them without actually making it take that long on the screen. And I feel like that was a little lacking too.
I wonder if they're staying away from montages because. I mean, because you could do like here they're eating, here they're sleeping, and like with but it is an interesting, how do you show time passing without, if they're specifically staying away from that without also giving a ton of here's us telling you what's going on versus showing you.
Yeah.
At the same time, from the budget standpoint that you were talking about, Tom, like the more time they spend in there, the more they have to stretch out that set or try to change it so it looks slightly different in the next shot. And that just seems like it would be even sillier. Like, oh, that's the same bridge that you've used for the past 3 cuts. And you're just trying to make it look like, oh, we're keeping going. And this is the next island. And it's the exact same. And I think that would be more taking you out of the story.
That's fair. I'm just going to drag a picture over our faces for a second. And it's the, it's a shot of the ways that I think is most actually loyal to the books. Is just them walking across the little path, and all around them is just complete blackness, and that's just a really good shot. I was trying to scroll through the episode as we talked to see if I could find the flash of lightning that actually shows the whole scene of the background, because that part I actually really liked when they showed
I thought that was so cool.
Yeah.
We also will probably see more of the ways in the future.
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, they go into them a lot. Now the other thing...
What defaced the guiding stone?
Trollocs.
It was Trollocs, but like I'm trying to remember from the books, was it...
Trollocs.
Because it's interesting that they said, like the forces of evil can't go in the ways. It was the Forsaken that forced them through, or was it the Fades?
So Fades in the book.
In the book.
Yeah, book.
But led by Baalzamon and his shadow.
That was it. Yes, that's right. So it was like from here to here to here. They're just...
They physically can enter the ways. Like they are physically capable of doing it, but they don't go into the ways because they're so terrified of it. That's the theme with the Shadow Spawn is they operate off of fear. So like they won't cross water, or they won't go somewhere unless they're or they won't let someone lead them unless they're afraid, unless they're forced by someone that they fear. So they fear Murdril, and they could be bound to them magically so. But they fear Ishamael, they fear the Forsaken, and they fear Baalzamon, so they'll do whatever Baalzamon says because he's a terrifying character.
What do you guys think about the changes with Mash and Shin?
Oh, that was the one thing I was like, oh, come on. Like, I really wanted to hear that senior screams.
Gnawing.
Like even a little bit of that followed by...
drink the marrow, rend the flesh.
This broke my heart. But I understand.
But it was also... it was interesting to see how it affected them afterwards and stuff. Because like, if you think about just hearing that, that's scary. But when you get out, you're not going to be like, oh my God, my best friend loves my woman. It's not going to cause conflict outside the ways. Not that this entity has a brain or anything, but it was interesting to see the change and then the triggering for Nynaeve.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, because Nynaeve does need to get more experience, and it's showing how she needs to be pushed really, really far before she'll touch the power because she's so scared of it.
Yeah. Sharon said, Sharon Diltz, I guess. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. She said, I didn't get that feeling from the characters either, that they had gloom pressing in on them or they were really that afraid. And that's valid.
Agreed.
I didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
Like I didn't. The characters seem pretty comfortable the entire time they're there.
Or just kind of like,
not
actual fear or anything, because they were also told that the ways were essentially safe and that the forces of evil couldn't go in. So you're right. That's a really good point, and I don't know if that's writing or directing, but it's not the actors; they're just doing what they're told.
Exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The bit so Machin Shin itself, and again, this is something that you guys mentioned in the podcast, but this is something that I was thinking about too. You guys really seem to be like on par with where I'm going in my head with a lot of the stuff. Kathy and I seem to always agree, and then you and I, Maureen, like agree the second most, and then Rajiv and I usually differ the most. I really am getting the feeling that they're going to make all of the evil things part of the shadow.
Yeah. Which makes sense. For our condensed storyline, it makes the most sense.
So Lisa Marie said Machin Shin just gives you anxiety in the show, which is funny.
Yeah. And, it just looked like bugs. Like, it didn't look like wind. It didn't look like fog. It didn't look like anything but like bugs.
It looked like a plague.
So Maureen, real quick, Lynette asks, what's the name of our podcast? You want to plug it real quick?
Oh, yeah. So our podcast is called Dragonmount. Wheel of Time podcast, and we record one episode for every episode of the TV show, and we are going to have a couple other episodes after we're all done. I'm talking to a couple of the actors. We've been able to talk with a couple of the actors. That's been really exciting, and so it's just a fun time to talk about. We mostly talk about it from a non-book reader's perspective at first. We don't go into spoilers until like the very, very end, so it's good for non-readers. It's good for we do go full spoilers at the end.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's good for non-readers. I'm sorry, what?
For the books.
For the books, yes, for the books. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I not say that?
No, it's okay. I was just reiterating that it's book spoilers.
Yeah. The book spoilers at the end. So it's got a happy medium for everybody. But yeah, definitely check it out. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. It's actually, if you go to the Dragon, so Lynette is watching on Facebook because the program tells me that. Technology. If you go to our YouTube channel, Lynette, and just go, click on Dragonmount. We are reposting the podcast directly to our YouTube channel, but also they are on dragonmount.com. Okay, so the ways Machin Shin, Nynaeve's. So Nynaeve's channeling was really cool. The only bit about Nynaeve's channeling that I don't fully get yet, which is fine if they go this route, is I can't tell if they're making her channel when she's scared or angry. So she's both. Obviously, like Lan is dying, and she heals everybody. And now everyone's about to die and she heals everybody. So is she angry at Machin Shin, or is she angry at the situation that she's, helpless, or is she scared and terrified, and that's what's prompting the channeling? Right?
What I'm picking up on is the words that she's choosing to say, like what has been written and what she's hearing. It all has to do with protection and like safety and non-abandonment. And I think that's the line they're pulling with that. So I think it's going to be not just one emotion. I think it's going to be all of those that accumulate with she do a protect.
Extreme situations, like channeling.
Like when she's desperate. I think desperation sums it up.
Yes,
that's a good. Vicky Spano said, "I think being scared makes her angry," which is valid. That's completely valid. That's totally fair. Nynaeve too. Like Nynaeve was like, "I'm scared. I could see that. This noise, I'm mad."
I mean, that's her whole character. Even in the book, she's just so feisty, and a lot of people read that the wrong way. They're like, "Oh, she's just like a bitch," and she's moody. But like, no, she's scared so much. She's so outside her depth. She's left her home for the first time. She's in a place she doesn't understand. She's having feelings for, land that she doesn't understand. And it's like she's so scared.
Yeah, and the way she portrays her outward portrayal of that is just anger. Mostly in herself, but everyone has little unhealthy mental things that they display, like Matt and Perrin and Rand, and Nynaeve's is just irrational anger at people that don't deserve it sometimes.
Oh yeah.
Though many times they do deserve it.
They do.
That's true.
Yeah. Mother hen Nynaeve. Yeah, that's a comment.
Yeah, but I'm glad that the relationship with her and Egwene is not one of mother hen and a baby. No. Like they seem like they're a lot more even in this so far.
Sisters almost, I guess.
Yeah, and I like that.
Yeah. Older sister, younger sister, but still like adult sister.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Especially the scene when Egwene is sitting on Nynaeve's bed when she walks in on this episode. Yeah. She's like...
I've had that talk with my sister.
Yeah, she's like, hello.
We do not need words for that one.
That face said it all.
I don't know if she's on right now, but Alina.
Oh, that's funny. That's so funny. And I don't know why Egwene was getting all smug too, because she had just rolled out of Rand's bed. So.
Right. Well, I think because it's unexpected with Nynaeve, because she was in the Wall of Wisdom. And while we did kind of talk about how we think sex might be okay outside marriage, so Nynaeve might have been sexually active, but not with any intent of long-term relationships. Like even Egwene and Rand were like going to get together.
She was also in a place of power in the so you don't usually sleep with the peasants. It's weird.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Sorry, I shouldn't put it that way, but really we all know where I'm coming from.
It makes a dynamic that is unhealthy in a lot of ways. Like, when someone in a position of power, pursues people that they have control or even say over. But there's plenty of people in the men's circle and within the village that I wouldn't be on par with a wisdom, but you know what? Actually,
but it's
now
still
that I think
an
about
HR nightmare.
Yeah, but that I think about it, there's not very many men in equal age, like in the books, or at least that we saw on the show, in the Two Rivers, that are equal to Nynaeve, that aren't Rand and Perrin. And Matt and Perrin, I mean, Matt isn't. Rand maybe, and Perrin's already married at that point. So,
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, no, I don't know who she would have hooked up with if they never left the Two Rivers, because there's no one her equal in the Two Rivers, I feel like.
Yeah, and I could see her being a stickler for that.
Yeah.
Like, I've got to be outside, so I'm going to do it. Like, I don't think Egwene would have. I think Egwene as a wisdom, training as a wisdom, still would have been like, all right, Rand, let's go. Let's go frolic in the fields.
Exactly. The whole bit that they're doing with Lan too, I really like. Like this expansion of Lan's backstory and character, I really like. It adds,
and they showed battle scars this time.
Yes, okay. I said that. I shouted it out when I was watching. I was like, yes, he's got scars. Like that makes so much more sense. They're crazy looking. They're pretty gnarly looking scars.
But they'll be healed.
Can they heal scars? No, right?
Well, no, those weren't scars. Those were fresh.
Those were fresh?
Well, since we saw him from... I mean, it's within the timeline. So it was the first half-naked Lan. Oh, yeah. There was nothing. He was smooth. He had nothing
on his back. He was... Yeah.
Yeah, so these are new. And, like, it takes a long time for a scar to actually form. Even 3 months later, you're still healing.
I completely
So he probably just got, like, the basis of healing and then just... was like, I'm fine. Use your power on somebody else.
That's true. He had gotten injured. What did I guess the battle with Logain's army, but he didn't take any wounds like that.
When the cage exploded.
But Nynaeve healed him.
Yeah, and she healed them perfectly. She heals everyone.
I'm sure she. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you could see everyone else's wounds are completely perfectly healed.
I mean, when they left the ways, was there any sort of explosion with stones or anything?
I don't know. Maybe that's an inconsistency. We got to check. Yeah, that's if someone else is
maybe he slept with somebody the night before.
Those are some.
Maybe there's scratch marks.
He must have slept with a Trolloc or something, because those scratch marks were pretty.
We are not gonna judge.
I won't judge. No judgment.
Preferences.
Yeah, that's true. My bad. I won't kink shame.
Narg, you know.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god. Why you gotta do that to me? It's gonna be trapped in my head for a while now. Damn it.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go watch that scene with him in the bathtub a couple more times
just to get that out. Yeah. I'm totally.
Sure
just for research.
Yeah.
Oh my god. All right, so we leave the ways, we get to Fal Dara. So one thing I want to call out before we go into Fal Dara is Amazon put out a picture, images. So Vicky said maybe it was Machin, possibly, but we don't. They're not like. They're pretty extensive wounds on his back, and he didn't have any kind of problems when they were walking in town. But so Amazon put out an image of Padan Fain recently, holding a leaf, I believe. Sorry, my watch is telling me to get up and walk around because I am lazy.
Really?
So let's bring this image over here.
And that's part of the bad thing about, for the podcast, we have the screeners. So we were able to see all the episodes before they actually air.
Yeah.
And so we don't have these X-ray kind of background information. So we had a big, long chat for like 15 minutes about how Padan Fain could have exited the ways. Yeah. And then Amazon answers it in like 30 seconds with this image.
Yeah, I may have cut that out, by the way.
Oh, okay. Did you?
Yeah, I did.
Because it was kind
of because they answered it. But yeah, so like... this is their throwback to the trefoil. Like he's holding. By the way, I threw the image on the screen for you guys. They can't see the images. Y'all can. So he's holding a very tiny, actually, trefoil leaf in his hand. Like it looks so. Like he's holding it like in between his two fingers. It looks like it's smaller than the size of a playing card. Like maybe,
so it looks like a shortbread cookie.
Yeah. That's a good description. Maybe the size of like a $50.
Sorry, I like food.
I like food. I love shortbread cookies specifically, so that works out for me. But I'm gonna drag this back over here. All right, so he has a trefoil leaf. So obviously the ways can be opened with the leaf, and that is.
See, we talked about how we're like, oh no, we can't do that. Well, now see,
they have
waffle.
Yep, we just got a waffle. And I'm in the same boat as you, Maureen. When I do my hot takes, I do them prior to having the X-ray stuff. So it makes some of like I think one of my hot takes was can Padan Fain channel in this tone? Yeah. Because how else would he be opening the ways? Mm-hmm. But
yeah, there's your answer.
Yep. Padan Fain specifically, I'm really liking him. I'm really liking his bits. I still fully attest that either in this season or in the beginning of next season, like it's either going to be one of like a part of this episode. It could be the cold open to the next episode, or it's going to be like one of the first thing we see on screen in next season is like a 10-minute sequence, if it's at the beginning of the next episode, of Padan Fain and everything that he did, like all of the stuff that he's doing throughout the episode. It's going to show him talking to the merge roll on the way into the Two Rivers. I think he killed the sheep and put them in the Dragon Fang. His travel from the Two Rivers to Shadow Logoth, what he did in Shadow Logoth. I think he planted the dagger. Going to Tar Valon, the stuff that he did in Tar Valon, probably interaction with the White Cloaks. 100%. I think it's going to be.
Isn't he the one that Leandrin has in North Harbor?
Yep, and I well maybe. I think honestly, I think unless Maureen doesn't know the actual identity of that person, Maureen would have something to say if it was Padan Fain, because she.
I don't think she saw Padan Fain.
I mean, she saw him in the Two Rivers.
He would have been with his peddler's wagon, and she was at the inn.
Yeah, but it was right outside the inn, the peddler's wagon.
Yeah, I think that in the confusion of the Trolloc attack, she didn't have a chance to see everybody's face.
The entire day, like he was there. Like she woke up in the morning, and then the Trolloc attack was at night, so and the whole day, would have passed. Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's definitely a chance that she never interacted with him, but so I feel like a new person coming to the town, like a Padan Fain, like a peddler showing up in the town, Lan and Maureen would have made note of it. Maybe not investigated him fully or something like that, but
especially with her looking out like the stained glass window.
Yeah.
Studying.
But her eyes and ears in Tar Valon wouldn't.
Maybe that's what I'm saying.
Might report Leandrin's meeting a man.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So if she doesn't know if she just knows that she's meeting a man in North Harbor and not she's meeting the peddler Padan Fain in North Harbor, like she might not have had anything to say about it. But Coolio, I'm pretty sure it's not the actual Coolio.
But if it is,
and Pat Stone both think that apparently the cold open on the next episode, or possibly, I'm not sure if it's the next episode. They just said the cold open will be a flashback to Lews Therin in the Age of Legends.
Maybe.
They did cast Lutheran, so could be. I guess, I mean, that would be interesting. It would be interesting if they did that way. I really want to see, what I want to see is like, if they do that, I want to see like that shot where they have like the valley, where you saw those pillars that looked like skyscrapers in the Mountains of Mist. And then like does like a slide, and then it shows like the Age of Legends, and those are actually, and then you see planes flying and flying cars. And...
Yeah, that'd be cool.
But this next one is going to be the end of season 1. So I personally think the cold opening is going to have to do with something that is just going on right now.
It's pertinent to right now, yeah.
Season 2 was greenlit before season 1 was done, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So they did at least know that there was going to be another season at this point of filming, but it's still, you have to have some sort of wrap up. They can leave a cliffhanger, but like a cold opening with like information that hasn't been brought in yet for the last episode of a season, I'm going to stand on the side of I don't think that's going to happen. I could be wrong, but that's just me.
I think for the next, I think the next one is going to be Padan Fain, honestly. I think the cold open is going to be Padan Fain. And I think it's going to be him leading up to whatever he's doing right now. Because,
and why he's important. Like, why should we...
I love how jovial he is. Like, I like keeping that, and then with the absolute incessant, like, like the Dark One's hound, essentially. Like, that juxtaposition. I'm so excited for that.
It adds so much to his creep factor. So much to his creep factor. I love this actor so much. Like he's
fantastic.
Even just his normal pictures. Like his pictures on his IMDb page. Like he has this big giant smile, and it's just like thinking about it in the terms of Padan Fain, I'm like, he looks like he's probably such a really cool dude though. He's probably a nice guy. Like I've seen some of his, like I've watched some of his interviews like on the red carpet and stuff like that, and he seems really nice, but oof, man. That's like, it would be like if I talked to Abdul, the guy that plays Valda, I'd be like, I'd be like scared a little bit.
Yeah.
All right, we should move on to Fal Dara.
Yeah, Fal Dara. Now correct me if I'm wrong. Either one of you or someone in the, chat. Isn't Fal Dara and Shinar like snowy? Isn't it supposed to be cold?
Doesn't the Blight make it warmer?
The Blight is warm.
I do believe it is supposed to be snowy, but you can see how close the Blight was. It's literally right next to it. So I don't know if they're...
And that is different than the books. Like the Blight wasn't right at the like you couldn't see the Blight
at the gap.
Yeah. The Blight was like a few hours or a day from Fal Dara. Yeah,
because they say it was a new spring, because they're talking about how cold it is, and the winter in the Two Rivers is like spring in the Borderlands because it's so cold there.
Yeah, so it should be cold and snowy. Again, should is an operative word. In the books, it is a cold climate. I like if they're changing it for the show, fantastic. I was just trying to remember if that's
but
it's also we've already seen. Yeah, we've already seen like cold and snowy.
That's true.
So I don't know if they're just trying to be like, okay, this is a new land that they traveled very far.
Yeah.
And then also the seasons changed, because at one point when they were walking to Tarvalon, it was snowing, right?
Well, it's been months.
So
we
are past winter already.
Yeah,
we're
true.
Into winter and spring.
They're not doing. Yes, I remember that specifically because I remember calling that out. Hunter Fox said sap explodes in some of the trees when they're in the
That's right, because it gets so cold.
I've actually seen that happen in real life. It's terrifying.
Yeah, I lived in Michigan.
Upstate New York, I heard it, and someone was like, "Oh, that's just the sap popping the trees." I'm like, "Excuse me?"
Like that wasn't just a lightning strike.
I'm going back to Long Island. I'm getting out of here. No, but whatchamacall? I'm fine with them changing the climate. Like, it makes sense, especially if they want to put it so close to the Blight. But we'll get into the Blight at the end of this, specifically. I want to try to stay on track a little bit, and then we'll go off on... I know, because we go off on... I have a habit of going off on tangents, and I'm trying to keep myself in check. So someone specifically asked something, and I want to call it out real quick. So... Yes, this is something that we've talked about. I'm not going to even try to pronounce your first name. I'm very sorry. But one of our users on YouTube asked, specifically said that they think Ishmael is tricking Suan in the dreams.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I definitely think that as well. Yeah, 100%. I mean, in the book, Baalzamon is doing a similar thing. He's not tricking Suan and Moiraine directly with the within their dreams, but he's laid the groundwork over the last few hundred years to trick them to go to the Eye of the World to get them there, and then that's and then they spring the trap. Like there's two Forsaken there waiting for him. So
Yep, they were crappy Forsaken.
they were, and I'm like
Bad planning.
no,
Yeah.
The whole first book was very different than the rest of the series for a lot of reasons. But the backstories of those two of one of the Forsaken, Agenor specifically, is really interesting because he was the biochemist or molecular biologist that created the Trollocs and all the Shadowspawn. But yeah, I do think that personally, I do think that Baalzamon is tricking Suan and Moiraine, like tricking them.
Yes.
Especially, it's like, come to the Eye of the World, but don't bring anyone else. Like, you know,
Right.
come to the Eye of the World with as few people as possible, because everyone but the dragon will die. Like,
This is a good segue into Swan, the Amyrlin, to Min and her viewings. Because when Min tells Moiraine, the Amyrlin seat will be your undoing, not Swan Sanche.
Exactly.
See, now we can go to Min.
That's a callback, I think, to how Moiraine words her oath to Suan, where Suan says, "Swear to the Amyrlin seat," swear, until the. She said, Moiraine changes it and says, "I swear to you. I swear to Swan Sanche."
So we also know book-wise, like Swan's not going to be Amyrlin for much longer.
Exactly. Spoiler alert. Yeah, So, and I think that's for the books. I think that is definitely a foreshadow for that for people who haven't read the books already.
So what do we think of Min?
I love Min.
Oh, she's fantastic. Yeah, it was awesome.
I think that they did the viewings well.
Yes.
They're different than the books because in the books they were just like images of things floating around them. Like it would be like, a crown or a light or something. It wasn't just like floating around their head. This is like she sees glimpses of different portrayals of the people themselves. So that's interesting. They didn't really go into how like that the image, like the way they talked about it was like she is seeing the future of those people specifically and not a representation of something that they're going to be dealing with in the future. So usually it's like, this is a symbol for something that is going to happen to them, not I'm seeing an image of what they are actually going to look like in the future. So it's ambiguous the way they've told us about how her viewings work so far.
Well, it's also nice because they didn't let us know that it doesn't have to do with the power, but they did let us know that Moiraine is keeping her secret and that other Aes Sedai don't know about it as much, right? Because she said if everyone knew, they would be here. You would never be left alone.
The White Tower knows, but not. The White Tower keeps her secret. Yeah.
That's right. The White Tower keeps her secret because, as the viewers, we don't know if it has to do with one power.
Yeah, no, as a viewer of someone who has never read the books, at this point, I think it would be safe to assume that somehow it's tied to the power or Aes Sedai in some way, because the only magic we've seen so far is either men who can channel, who get gentled, and Aes Sedai. So, I mean,
I love that they aged her up.
Yeah,
because that's, in the books, that's how it was, and then later on they always talk about this cute little, when she wears her little heeled boots and her curly hair, and it just always kind of made me throw up. And now I'm like, okay, this is a real. She's real.
Yeah.
And she's now totally Min for me.
I also like bartender Min a lot.
But, yes.
Yeah, I like I like that because like her character in the books where she's like snarky and sassy,
sweeping,
quick-witted and stuff like that, and a little flirtatious with everybody. Like she just kind of puts on that front, like she has
bartender.
Yeah, that's a bartender. That's literally a bartender. That's
PSA: if your bartender's flirting with you, they're probably not.
They're probably not. Yeah, they don't actually like you.
They are paid to be cordial.
Exactly. So we're getting a lot of comments that she looks older, you know, but that's because they're all older. Everyone is older.
Well, in the book, she's at least 5 years older than Rand, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And but that means she's even older, like in the show, because
if Rand's 20, she's 25.
Yeah, she's closer to Nynaeve's age.
Yeah.
In the show than she is in the books, which is that's fine. Like that's like these are the things that when I get into discussions about characters' ages specifically, like making her older, what is that? It doesn't change anything. Like it changes nothing about her character whatsoever. She is older. Mm-hmm. Like that. Like she was going to be that age anyway. It's not like, you know, anything particularly changes about her character because she's a little bit older.
And she doesn't work with the one power, so she's not going to have an ageless, smooth face.
Exactly.
Like this,
she's a bartender in the Borderlands.
Yeah. She's working in harsh, like as we talked about, an environment, that cold wind, that sun. Like it is not going to do great skin stuff. Like for the reality of Randland, they don't got Botox.
Yeah, exactly. So Lisa said, "Min's baby?" ? Yeah, no, I definitely think. If you go back and rewatch the way Min specifically talks about Rand, she seems a little guarded or cagey about the way she about what she says to Moiraine about Lan. Like she says, "Oh, all babies look the same." Like she just brushes that off real quick because
they do.
Yeah, she knows. Well, they do, but I really think she does know whose baby that is. Like I think I think she's able to tell more than what we saw. So. I want to touch on. I want to go back for a second to Rand. So, spoiler alert for this episode, we find out Rand's the dragon in this episode for sure. Now, I'm sure everyone who's read the books has been assuming that from the beginning.
Oh no!
Yeah, though I do have a few friends that have not been watching the show, and I've been kind of picking their brains so I could use it. And I told them I'm picking your brain and totally using everything that you say to me. And they're like, I don't give a shit. So my friend, his name is Kyle. He's got a new girlfriend actually, and they're both watching the show. And I've just been listening to him give me his like feedback on the show, and he's like, "Oh, I totally think it's Rand. It's got to be Rand." He's like. He's the only other character, like, from the Two Rivers. He has red hair, and he's, like, Loyal called him an Aiel. Like, he's the only character that is from the Two Rivers. And even between him and Nynaeve, who were technically not from that town, he's even more different than her. Yeah. And then he got no screen time in the first 3 episodes. Like, he had barely any lines, and, like, they were focusing on those other characters a lot. He's like, it's definitely Rand. So... Even someone who hasn't read the books ever and didn't know anything about the Wheel of Time prior to going into it, they've been doing a good job foreshadowing that, I think. But
yeah, I think so.
So one thing I do want to say is the reason why I brought it up is when they do Rand's, and this ties to Min because he goes, we get this flashback when he talks to Min in like 10 minutes from where we are right now. When we get his flashback of specifically when they're in the ways, and when they're in the inn in whatever that name of that town was, I forgot where Dana is.
Mm-hmm. Green Spring.
Yeah, something Spring. Green Spring. Is that what you said? I don't know.
Someone
tell us what the name of the town is. I'm sure one of you guys know. We see things in those flashbacks that we did not see when we saw those scenes in the show. Like if you go back earlier in this episode and watch the scene where Egwene seems to push the Trolloc off the bridge and Rand steps Breen Springs. So thank you, by the way.
Breen Springs?
Where Rand kind of reaches in front of Egwene. When you watch that scene before the montage, it's a close up. And you actually can't see the bottom of the screen. You just see Rand with his like this part of his arm and Egwene like right here. You don't see just below that where you can actually see the weave coming out of Rand in that montage. So that is less foreshadowing and more, I don't want to say purposefully misleading, but it kind of is.
Yeah, it's purposely misleading.
Yeah. So it's like, I don't know how I feel about it. Like, it's
legit.
Yeah, I feel a little.
Yeah, I hate that. I hate that we did not see the weaves when Rand channeled in the end.
Yeah,
because we saw Logain's weaves channel, we saw Moraine's weaves channel, we saw Nynaeve's weaves channel, we saw even Egwene when she's looking at the little stone, we saw her weaves channel, or when she's doing with Felda. Like, so why just this one little scene? Like, oh no, we're not going to let you see the weaves, and it was just no. They could have done it better.
Yeah, it's not like it's not like they didn't put them in the scene. They just didn't show them to us either.
Yeah.
Like they might have been on the screen, but
the door breaking scene, was it a different like angle also from like waist up? Because I haven't. Yes. Okay, so you could have seen it had the camera been like further back type of thing. So they are still.
They're showing us things from different angles or from different viewpoints or with the weaves added in.
So they're not lying.
Yeah, but it's the thing that I liked about the Wheel of Time so much is that the foreshadowing was there for you to find.
Yeah,
if you were able, if you could see it, if you could find it. Like, for instance, spoiler for the first book, but we've already said Rand is the dragon. Within the first 6 or 7 chapters, Rand channels, and Moiraine knows immediately. Not that she senses his channeling, but she's cleansing the horses. We got that scene in the first episode or the second episode where she's cleansing the horses, revitalizing them so that they can run. She doesn't have to do that to Bella, who Egwene was riding. And that is because Rand, while they were riding, already refreshed. That's what she calls it. Refreshing the horses. He refreshed Bella. So in the book, Moiraine pretty much has like, it's almost 100% that it's Rand from immediately when they leave the Two Rivers.
No, she assumed it was Egwene that had done it, I thought.
I don't remember.
She said, I my first thought was to its writer, who was Bella.
Oh, right. Okay, yeah. Well,
but then she would have sensed that.
She figured, yeah, that was the thing, is she didn't sense it because she says specifically, my first thought was to Bella, but then she figured it out that was him. So at some point she figured it out. I don't know exactly when. Maybe not right when it happened.
Yeah.
But where was I going with that? Oh, but it's there. It's there. It's there for people to find out, like for people to recognize.
Yeah, and his reaction to it when he gets giddy, talking with the White Cloaks and Barillon in the books.
Yep.
Like, you can see that's after you learn about it. He
becomes invigorated. He becomes...
Yeah, you can see the symptoms.
Yeah. You could, when you read the scene in the book, when he when he refreshes Bella, his senses get heightened. He feels like something rushing through him. But he doesn't describe it as the one power. He is just like, we have the inner monologue in his head. So the stuff is there for the reader to find, and I feel a little bit gypped is the best word, Maureen. That it was kind of hidden from the viewer.
Yeah, we couldn't have figured it out.
Yeah,
but they were also trying like that. I think was a big thing just for the actual show. Is the more mystery, the better. It's like, who's the dragon?
Yeah.
Like if you've read the books,
But then they should have made it different. They could have done a different scene, have it do, or showed it from a different angle, like they did with Rand in the Ways. Like they didn't show it.
Agreed.
I don't want them to tell. I don't want them to have told us early. But having those little breadcrumbs for people to find is better than never showing them and then going back and retconning that those breadcrumbs were there.
Or are they doing it from like point of view essentially? Rand didn't know he was channeling, so you couldn't have seen it because he, like in the books, thought he was just refreshed and invigorated. Like, and then now after the match in Shin and going back through the flashback, suddenly it's like a realization of, oh, this is channeling.
So we know from Sarah that the weaves, when we see that white wispiness on the screen, that's for us. That's for the viewer. That the others don't see that. So that's for the viewer. So the fact that they didn't show us that with Rand is literally just a direct cut for the viewer not to see it. because
it was an inconsistency.
It's an inconsistency with it. It's not inconsistent like they forgot. It's an inconsistent as they just didn't show us. But like I said, this might just be a personal thing for me. Is I like when they put those little breadcrumbs in for, like, specifically one of the things that was really that really caused me to read and reread and reread and reread the books was those little breadcrumbs that Robert Jordan sprinkled throughout the whole series.
Yeah, because the first time you read it, like this is no, because it's also a show spoiler, but like talking about Egwene at the beginning with Moiraine.
Yep.
She had a little conversation with her, and then suddenly when you do a reread, you're like, holy shit, that was there the whole time.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Exactly. All right, let's go back to some of our comments here.
Yes.
I saw the door breaking, and it's the exact same sequence there. So our friend went back and rewatched that scene. He said it's the exact same sequence, except in the new episode they added the weaves in. So that is literally not even a different.
Me.
Okay, yeah, then there's no excuse.
Yeah. So
I was trying, guys. I was trying.
Yeah. It's there. That's the, and not that that's a negative thing, because it's an artistic thing that they wanted to do. Like,
no, it's inauthentic. It's purposely hiding it, and
I agree.
It's just a cheap trick.
I agree. Yeah, it's not even unreliable. It's not even an. Wow, I can't talk today. It's not even an unreliable narrator where it's like we had the information, but then they didn't. It's just a purposeful, misleading scene. Like they didn't show it to us, and then they added it in. So it's. I don't know. I think that whole Rand is the dragon thing could have been done better with breadcrumbs sprinkled throughout. Better breadcrumbs, or just Angie, not
cookies.
Just hiding them. But yeah, that's my feelings there.
Any other questions or comments?
The door knocking down was a breadcrumb, Larry Jones says. Yes, technically. Like, I mean, the fact that he was able to push the door, like to knock the door off the hinges in and of itself was weird. Because if you do cut back to that scene, Dana, her face is like, she's like, what the... you knocked that door down. She's like, that was a steel door. Like, they did go in, like... She did specifically say that door is very strong. Like, you're never going to be able to knock it down. No one's going to hear you scream. Like, and then he breaks the door down. So, in the books, that's when he had lightning strike the wall and it exploded the wall. But, yes, I get it. It's just still, I feel like it's still a little, I can't think of the word.
Shady, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that could have been done better. Personally. So we had someone else call out. Lynette said earlier how they liked when Rand was shooting the arrow during that montage, and like he slowly got better as he was like, she didn't say it, but like,
we all know flame in the void.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like he's probably assuming the void, assuming the flame in the void, and then through that started channeling, and then that was pretty cool.
So back to men interviewings.
Yeah. I was just. I was just going.
One thing that was interesting, I thought, was that Moiraine, like, specifically, tell me what you see about the boys.
Yeah.
And then the girls are just clumped together, and Min says a white flame, Egwene, a golden ring, Nynaeve. And I think Moraine's thinking the golden ring is the Aes Sedai ring, but I'm thinking it's Lan's ring.
Yeah.
Because that's what Min saw around Nynaeve in the books, is this golden signet ring.
Yeah, the with the crane.
The crane,
the crane.
Or Moiraine knows it's that because her talk with Lan was pretty much, I'm sorry I ruined your life, you deserve love, I like her.
Yeah.
That's true.
Or,
was that after this, though?
Yeah, that is after this.
Yeah, it was after.
Or it's an Adam. For
golden ring? Adam is silver.
It is silver.
Maybe
it's gold. Maybe it's gold in the.
I don't even call it a ring. Be a bracelet.
It's a circle.
I guess Min would think it might be something.
By the way, just in case anyone could hear it, that is Maureen's dog.
Oh my gosh, can you hear? I'm sorry, she's speaking.
No, don't.
I thought it was somebody's tummy.
I did. That's why I wanted to point it out because it's so cute. No.
It's perfectly fine. I don't hear it anymore.
It's super cute. It's super cute. What's your dog's name again?
Her name is Friday.
Friday, I forgot.
Hi, Friday. I love you. Sleep well.
Yeah, her dog is very cute. She has made an appearance a couple of times in our when we join and chat for a little bit before we jump on, and she's very cute. Anyway, So.
Yeah, the girls were lumped together. That was interesting.
Yeah. I think it could be an adopt. Honestly, I think it could be an adopt. Now, yeah, like you said, they are silver in the show, but that's the only other ring that I could think of. And it's not a ring, but ring doesn't mean ring necessarily. A ring could just mean a circle, you know. Circle. So not that it's a possibility. I'm not saying that it's definitely that or anything. But
I just because sorry, I'm gonna jump ahead a little bit because when Lan says about the little girl that he sees in the house with his father's armsmen, he says that she likes him because he brings gifts. I always bring gifts. And so I'm thinking when Lan's going to give her the ring, because in the books, he's like, I'm going to give you this. And she's like, a village woman doesn't take gifts from a king. And he's like, I'm going to give you this gift if I have to tie it around your neck. And so I just think it's going to, he already said, I give gifts. And it's going to come in when, I'm giving you this gift of my ring.
Yeah, yeah, entirely possible. Absolutely entirely possible. Someone asked, what does the Queen of Malkir's crown look like?
That is fair, because if it is just a simple gold circlet,
it's not in the or at least not the one that Nynaeve imagines it look, because Nynaeve doesn't know, but the way she imagines it when she's in the accepted test, it doesn't. It's not just a simple circlet. And the Malkiri, again, book Malkiri signet ring is a crown with like a spear almost like across it and a crane flying over it. So it's it would be more complicated than just a plain circlet, I think, to be honest.
Yeah, I think so too. No, I think it's going to be Lane's signet ring.
Yeah.
Or worst case, it's going to be the Aes Sedai ring.
Yeah. The whatchamacall, so what's the other one? Perrin with yellow eyes and blood on his chin. So
he's not giving up. So he's not following the way of the leaf right now.
Nope.
He's fighting somebody.
Yeah. Or he got punched in the face and is just angry and not responding. Like,
that's possible.
I honestly think we're gonna find out that these viewings that she has are more like they are in the books, where they're not exact, like there's going to be a scene when Perrin goes like this and he has blood on his face and his eyes are yellow. It's more like, or golden or whatever. Thanks, Larry. Where it's more like a foreshadow of an event or something that's going to happen, that like he will have blood on his face, or, he will cause something will happen where it's going to be like that. Mm-hmm. And, that's what I think is going to end up happening with him. I think he's going to be either. I think it's going to be a confrontation with the White Cloaks. Like that's where that's going to end up. Like we have. I like the way they did with Valda as a callback to the other episodes, real quick, but with Egwene and Perrin specifically, which I guess we can go into in a second. Valda has a real reason to hate them now, and so do the White Cloaks. Well, or at least the Questioners. I don't think Valda's dead, by the way. There's a lot of people that, were saying, oh, he's dead. I don't think he's dead. Like, if we don't see the dead body, I just assume they're alive. Yeah. I think it might be interesting. This is a complete conspiracy on my part. I think Valda, like, we're going to get a scene of Valda with the knife in his freaking neck almost, and he's going to have like an Aes Sedai chained up in a tent somewhere.
Yes,
he's going to go forced to heal him.
Yep, I could see that.
That's what I think is going to happen. I think he's going to go into they have an Aes Sedai that he carries around with him to heal him. Yeah, and I think that's what's going to happen. Or he's a dark friend, and one of the Forsaken will heal him or something. But I think he's going to have an Aes Sedai chained in a tent somewhere.
Back to the viewing. Yes, I agree with you. But one of the biggest things I really liked about mid viewings is they pulled almost word from word from the book about like when they were all together and it was this blackness with the shooting lights. That was complete book, and I'm glad they're keeping that as showing them that they are all important together.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They're really driving that home with the idea that the dragon, I think it was Maureen that said even like the dragon's soul would be split into 5 bodies, even if there's a 5-headed dragon, they've said, which is now I've seen a lot of people complain about that, like, the books, that never happened. It does, though. It 100% does. It's not just Rand that's important. It's all of them. It's everyone. In the books, they think it's just Rand, Mat, and Perrin. Like they say, if something happens to one of them, we fail. But we really do find out that Nynaeve is just as important. Egwene is just as important. Lan is just as important. Moraine is they're all just as important. So I think they're really going to play that up a lot more in the show. Yeah. Not that they're adding it, because they're not, because it is book canon to say that they're just as important to the pattern.
Yeah, they're not saying that they are all parts of the dragon, but they are all parts that the dragon needs.
Exactly.
To succeed, which essentially means,
as someone who, like if you take someone from their time, like an Aes Sedai who would try to be reading into prophecy, you could read it that way. Like you could think that, like, especially if you read into the prophecy that says like there's multiple people involved with the dragon prophecy that are important, you could think, well, maybe they're all the dragon. Like that could be, especially because I really think one of the things that they're doing in the show, it seems like, is that they don't the Aes Sedai specifically don't fully understand how everything works, i.e. like, and they could change it for the show, but in the books, if you die, like you are reborn as you were in your previous lives. Like it's not possible for someone who is a male to be reborn as a female when they're reborn again. That's book canon. They could be changing that, or they could be just the Aes Sedai don't know, because no one is able to research that.
I don't know. Well, when the Dark One's able to put different souls in different bodies, I don't see why the creator wouldn't be able to put different souls in different bodies.
No, when they do that, I mean, it could be for non-channelers, but it's like, at least it's never spoken about that it's ever happened before. Whereas a channeler, like a female can channel Saidin, or a male can channel Saidar. Like that never happens in the book, except with that one instance.
The source they touch is linked to their gender.
Yeah, with that, except for that one instance with Halima, which that entire storyline is a little rough, socially standing.
Which is great, but we need to get back to the show.
Yes. Whatchamacall. But yeah, so I think that the Aes Sedai just don't really fully understand, and I think that's good, because it's like as they learn, we as the viewer will learn as well, and I think that's a better way of doing it than just giving us the exposition that they usually do in the books.
Yes.
Are we going to talk about Egwene and Perrin? Do we think that was actually a thing, or is that just something that Ma Shin just fucked with them?
I think it's actually a thing.
Oh, really? Yeah. Why?
So now again, this is just my brain, like,
braining,
going a little off, like conspiratorially wise. But think about it like this: who are the two most? All right, I want to just preempt this with, I love Fael, and I love Fael and Perrin's storyline through the books. A lot of people hate it; they call it the slog, all that. I love it anyway. Generally speaking, the two most hated characters in the books, like to read, not hated through their actions, but hated to read. Gawain and Fael. Mm-hmm. Who are their love interests in the books? By the way, spoiler alert. Gawain is Egwene and Fael is Perrin. Mm-hmm. If they get rid of those two characters and instead they make Perrin and Egwene I could totally see it being a thing. Like it would change a lot. It would have to change a lot with Perrin.
That's interesting. That didn't even cross my mind in that aspect.
Do I like that? I don't know, because there's so many implications to Perrin's storyline. Because if from a show writing, from a writer's standpoint for the show, if I were to do that, I wouldn't change Egwene's storyline. I would keep her storyline as it is told through the books, which I won't spoil too much. I would keep that, the majority. And I would then instead put Perrin into it. Mm-hmm. But that would change a lot of Perrin's storyline, but it wouldn't change really that much. It would change the Fael portions. Everything else could still happen the way it happened. So it's interesting, and that's just what popped in my head. I don't know if it's going to happen. I don't even know if it's possible, from a like I said, from a writer's standpoint, but that's just what popped in my head.
I can see that. And the other interesting thing is, if you think about it, they're all from a small town. How many eligible partners are there? So at the end of the day, if there are 5 young women in your village, there's going to be interest unless she's your biological relative, and even then.
Which, if they want to say that Perrin had feelings for Egwene, it makes sense why Layla didn't go to Egwene's women's circle ceremony.
But was Layla from the Two Rivers?
Yeah.
Do we have a confirmation for that?
I mean, they never say she wasn't. In the book, she was. In the book, she was, yeah.
Okay, that is true. In the book, she was.
Yeah, Perrin says, if I never left the Two Rivers, I would have my own smithy and be married to Layla.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So, now...
Yes, yeah. So
I'm not saying I'm not saying I like the idea that they might be doing, whatever you want to call them, a Guerin... Perrin,
I don't think they're going to. Like the way I'm going to take it, if they're going there, it's just going to be like with any other human nature. When you have a crush on somebody, most of the time you can't help it. You just like them. It's not like you were like, I'm going to decide to like this person.
Yeah.
You're going to be like, okay. And like, I can imagine he has a crush that he would never do anything about. Yeah. But when you're with somebody for long enough, like with him and Layla, she probably was like, you like Egwene.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And he'd be like, but I would never, ever, but she could still, like, I could, if they're going to spin it that way, that to me makes the most human sense.
Yeah. Especially just that scene with Perrin and Layla. Like, everyone was talking about how she seemed so distant to him in that scene.
Yeah.
What does he say to her right before he hugs her? Why didn't you go to Egwene's women's circle ceremony? And then she's a little distant. She's a little angry. She's a little frustrated even, maybe, or jealous or whatever. Because, and again, this is speculation, because he has feelings for Egwene. So, like, that it's there.
It would tie in.
But
it would tie
he says, I love you.
Yeah.
And
well,
she says,
and then there you go. He knows why she's upset. So he has to then say, he says, I love you to her to, like, quiet
you
those
can also love
head.
Somebody and still have a crush on somebody else. We're not built to be like you.
No, but I feel like he read from her that she was feeling jealous, so he thought to say, but I love you. And it wasn't him telling that, which is another thing. Like, he says, I love you. Not so that he would, not saying, I love you, like you say, I love you to your husband or your significant other or whoever. It's him saying, I love you as him telling her, but I love you, not Egwene. Yep. So her response to him is, I know.
Yeah.
So it does tie in. This does make sense if this is the way they're going. I feel like it's not something that he and Egwene had even ever discussed. No. I feel like it was something that the issue was, it was like a secret that everyone kind of knew, anyone who can pick up on small signs, which would be the women. Mm-hmm.
Except and that it was
honestly, because I never thought it. I literally never thought it until the moment that you said it. So just to further push your point there, I was like, oh shit.
But Egwene also might not have, because she just sees him as like, oh, he's Rand's best friend. It's like a brother.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. And then when Perrin does say to Rand, the only woman I've ever loved is my wife. Yeah. I don't think the feelings he has for Egwene is a romantic love.
Yeah. So I want to call out something.
That's fair. That's also fair.
I want to call out something that someone just said on the chat. So they said, this episode was the last straw for me. One of the most powerful, enduring things about the books was the relationship and friendships in the Two Rivers. It was never questioned. Okay. It was in the books. Like, they did have a lot of back and forth in the books with their relationships. Also, no one's relationships in any way, whether it's your friends, your loved ones, your family, are perfect all the time. Like, you have disagreements, you have differences of opinion, you have outright arguments and fights with each other. Like,
if how you deal with it, that's what makes you stronger.
Exactly. And if they would have just been like, these relationships are perfect and utopic and they love each other and everything's great, it would have been like totally unrealistic. Like, that's one of the and we've said this in previous episodes. I know I have, and I'm pretty sure you guys have on the podcast, and I know Kitty has, that the changes that they've made to the Two Rivers specifically, I like the most, because it makes it more real. It makes it feel more real to the viewer. And it's something that you guys actually said in the first episode of the podcast, was the relationships between, especially the three boys, they just feel more real because of who they are, where they're grounded. another friend of mine who is an author. He's a great guy. His name is Sargon Donabed. He's a professor in Rhode Island of history, and he is an author of fantasy as well. And he messaged me originally and was like, having the same kind of issues about the book. And I'm like, dude, let me ask you a question. And and you guys could answer it too, and anyone watching. When you try to get a new person to read the series, because I mean, people who love the Wheel of Time, I really feel like they're the biggest pushers of the Wheel of Time. Like people like book fans. My wife once described it when she was like getting into the series with a friend of hers from college. It was like having a drug deal in between classes, like like, oh, I'll meet you in this hallway, give me the next book. And like, but that's how we push Wheel of Time in people. So a lot of times I've heard people say, I've said to myself, to certain people, the first book's a little shaky. The second book starts to get really grounded. And the third book is really where it takes off. Mm-hmm. And I know a lot of people have said that. So I asked him, well, how do you tell people when you read? And he said a similar thing. Like, the third. I was like, what happens in the third book? We start getting depth from the characters. The characters start to have flaws. They start to really show the flaws. They start to really lean into those flaws. The writer does. And that's when the book gets interesting. That's when, not when it gets interesting, but that's where those characters...
Yeah, that's when it gets real, and you can correlate with it versus you're like, oh, I'm just reading a fantasy story that could potentially be made for children because everything's perfect.
Exactly.
Well, from Jordan's viewpoint, like he started this and had this idealistic town because that was the way fantasy worked then. Yeah, and then by book 3, he's like, oh, this is going to go on longer than I thought. I need to make this deeper. I need to make this longer lasting. I need to make this more realistic.
Yes.
Yeah, it's Disney princess versus reality.
Exactly. Yes.
The two rivers in the books is the Shire, and the Shire is like, and again in the books, the biggest problem that Two Rivers folks in the books ever had to deal with was like
Coplins.
Yeah, the Coplins and Sindui. Like you basically an asshole, crotchety old man was the biggest things that the Two Rivers folks ever had to deal with, and maybe wolves attacking your sheep, like not a big deal, and that doesn't really make for the types of characters that Rand, Mat, and Perrin, and Egwene, and Nynaeve were. Like, they never really had the type of upbringing that would evoke a lot of that. I'm not saying it's impossible, just, generally speaking. Like, someone who is Mat, someone who diffuses situations with comedy, and is roguish, and has a little bit of a dark side, like that, usually comes from the type of background that Mat comes from,
comes from depression.
Yeah, speaking personally, that is literally like a perfect example of that. So I personally like the changes that they've done with that, but I just wanted to call that out because I always feel particular to call out stuff like that. But back to the Perrin and Egwene thing. I hope they don't pursue it, but I can see it.
I don't think they're going to. I think it was just another showing of like essentially how Machin Shin is, whoever said earlier in the chat, just creates anxiety in real life.
That's true.
Because she even said, don't listen to it.
That's true. But everything that he said or it said was true. So the thing that he says to Perrin is something along the lines of like, you never loved your wife. What was it?
You loved another woman more.
You loved another woman before. Yeah. So it's like, speaking from a production standpoint, you don't put big things, like you don't dedicate screen time to something like this when you don't have that much screen time to begin with. They wouldn't have Nynaeve saying that and being so big and poignant in that scene if it wasn't going to be at least a little bit of a thing. Like this is the only time it's ever mentioned and it's never brought up again. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know. It just seems like imposter syndrome almost. Like everybody in any relationship you have, you wonder, could I be doing more for my significant other? Could I be a better friend by doing something? And if that's your mindset, and then Machin Shin comes in and sees that, well, then it's going to make it bigger than it is.
That's true.
But I think everybody has that feeling about any relationship, whether personal, friendship, or romantic.
Yeah, but he never says you loved Egwene. Or Machin Shin never says you loved Egwene. He says you loved another woman.
Loved another woman.
Yeah,
more.
and Perrin doesn't deny it. When Nynaeve says stop fighting over her, Perrin doesn't deny it. He doesn't say, I don't love Egwene. He only when Rand challenges him a little bit is he steps forward and says I loved my wife, or
only woman I ever loved was my wife.
Yeah, so I don't know. I personally, I hope they don't pursue that, like the Egwene and Perrin thing. But like I said, I can see it, especially because literally, if you go to almost any fan group, some of the two most hated characters from a reader's standpoint, not like through their actions, are Egwene and Fail. So
yeah,
I mean, people call her Fail. That's,
yeah.
Well, I mean, look at the spelling.
Yeah, I know.
It's terrible.
Like I said, I personally like Perrin and Fael's storyline. I don't get the slog. I don't get any of that.
So we are just going to need more information.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because we'll see how this goes.
So what you're saying is we have to...
We're moving on.
Watch and find out is what you're telling me.
Yes, we're moving on.
Yes.
Because it's already been an hour and a half and we're not done with the episode.
Okay, so we're almost at the end now. So Min's viewings are over. The only bit left that we haven't spoken about yet, because we spoke about the other stuff out of order, Lan's backstory with everything, was... The Blight is the actual leaving of Fal Dara to go to go to the Blight. So
it looked so cool.
Really, you liked it?
I liked it at the edge, because I know at the edge it's a little bit different. Once they get deeper is when it gets
changes.
like stickier and all the thingies. Because this is the very edge. This is the civilization. This is what they've been fighting. So there's not going to be potentially a lot of the creatures or anything yet. And they only showed them going in the first 10 feet, and you saw it go over the hill.
Yeah.
But it just shows the immenseness and how it encroaches and completely covers, and why I think it just gives a good visual of oh shit, this is actually a thing that will come in, not just there's a couple of trees. No, it is there. There is a line.
Real quick, I want to just what someone said in the thing, because we are a second or two behind when they see us. So Lance just said he rewatched the scene where Perrin accidentally killed Layla, and it looked like she was going to kill him. This has been debunked by the actress who plays Layla and Sarah Nakamura. That's just a happenstance. Layla wasn't going to kill Perrin.
She's not a dark friend officially.
She's not a dark friend or anything like that. So yeah, it does look like that though. 100%, you are right. It does look like that. Anyway, back to the Blight. I don't like it. I don't like the way it looks right in the beginning, mainly because how the hell is an army of Trollocs going to march through that? You know what I mean? They're saying they're constantly defending. That would be the easiest thing to defend, because at most, Trollocs are huge.
Yeah.
Could you imagine Trollocs trying to climb through those twisted branches? It would, and an army of them, right off that. Yes, in the books. So I saw a couple of people being like, "There's no trees in the Blight." There's absolutely trees in the Blight. If you go back and reread that first, when they walk into the Blight,
touch them because they'll kill you.
Yeah, the Blight is covered in vegetation, bushes, trees,
sticky vegetation.
Yeah, they're covered in goop though. They're covered in blight juice, and it's gross. But I'm coining blight juice. But
Kitty's totally right. We needed a visual.
We did
because. In the books, I think Perrin says, "When are we getting to the Blight?" And Lane's like, "We've been there a day and a half."
Yeah.
Because they can't tell, and that's not dramatic enough.
Yeah. So this very exact line of desolate desert, weird looking gnarled trees is a good dividing line visually for it. I didn't personally like that bit. I hope it changes. I hope it's not just this weird, gnarled looking trees exactly the same, cut and pasted one all over the other, all the way through to the eye of the world. I hope it's more like the Blight from the books, because again, that was terrifying. The stuff that they see in the Blight, specifically, my favorite thing is when Maureen is hiding the camp, when the first night that they camp in the Blight, which is a terrifying aspect in and of itself. They see a lake. And the Two Rivers folks are like, "Oh, let's go swim in the lake." And they're pulling their clothes off, which is just it makes me think of the Hobbits, 100%. Let's go, Merry and Pippin. Let's go swim in the lake. And then a freaking a cephalopod, an octopus or something, you see a tentacle come out of the water, except where suction cups would be, they describe hands. Human hands. It's very Chthonian, Lovecraftian, and it's terrifying. And that's the type of stuff that you see in the Blight. So I'm hoping, it doesn't have to be that exact scene, but just weird, terrifying, twisted.
Yes, and more openings, because that is true. They can't really travel that easily. The only thing I can think of to try to stand up for that is potentially if this war has been going on for 100 years, they might have, I'm not going to say agriculture or cultivating the trees, but if they try to make sure that the trees can grow thicker there, that is more of a defense.
That's true.
Maybe. So maybe there's like paths through it that the Trollocs use.
And not even, but maybe like once you're through like a mile or two, it thins out a lot because, you know.
Larry Jones says it gave me the Disney, like a Disney Sleeping Beauty and the Thorn.
Maybe that's why I love it.
That's true.
Yeah,
I'm
like, oh, where's my dragon?
Yeah, that's a really good point. That is exactly what that looked like. But yeah, no, I really hope the Blight gets better as they go further through it.
I hope the Blight gets better.
Yeah, I do. Well, I hope it gets worse. I hope it gets worse. I hope the Blight gets much worse for them. Real quick, before we wrap up, what is everyone, including people in chat, shout out what you guys think. Do we think the Green Man is going to be in the Blight?
No.
No, you don't think so? Yeah, I mean, we've had no mention of the Green Man, but we've also, I really feel like they've been ambiguous in saying if anyone has ever been to the Eye of the World. I like it in the book. Moraine has been there before and has met the Green Man already. So Moraine is not in the show so far, at least, is not showing that she's ever been there before. So
unless they do something with a cold opening.
Oh, maybe
it's true. I am holding out hope that Someshta is in the show because I really love. So. I just loved the interaction between him and Loyal specifically in the book. Like that was really cool. Like when he calls him little brother and tree brother and stuff like that. But that was especially because then they kill him immediately. So like they could waste a lot of like budget in CG and practical effects on the Green Man because they're gonna kill him in 2 minutes. So
or they could do an X-ray animation.
Yeah, that's true.
Of the Green Man. Yeah, maybe he's already dead or something. Yeah,
or something of like the Ogier talking to him. Like I could definitely see with all the animated X-rays doing something along those lines.
That's fair. That's fair. We did get a couple of people saying that the Green Man's going to be there.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll see.
Like only a week.
Yeah.
We have no idea.
Yeah. So Lance specifically asked, can we comment about the Dark One being at the Eye of the World? Personally, so I think if for our book readers, and I'm guessing Lance, you're a book reader based off of some of your other comments in the show. For the book readers, we know, or at least we think we know, who Balzaman is. I'm going to avoid saying it directly right now because I do kind of want anyone who isn't a book reader, if they're doing it this way, they're doing a good job. They think, so Balzaman in the Trolloc language means the Dark One, essentially. So they think that Balzaman is the Dark One. Yeah. If that is what we're operating under right now in the show, and Balzaman is at the Eye of the World, the Dark One is at the Eye of the World. So that could be what they're seeing. And if it is Balzaman tricking them into it, then why wouldn't Balzaman show himself or give them the idea that the Dark One is at the Eye of the World? Mm-hmm. So I think that's part of the trick, is saying that the Dark One is at the Eye of the World. Or they're assuming that since Balzaman is there, the Dark One is there. Yeah. That's my feeling on that.
Yeah, because it's Siwan who says so
from her dream. So,
right.
And the only other weird dreams we've been seeing are from the Two Rivers people, and it's Balzaman. So
So they're misleading Siwan. They want her to get the dragon there, thinking he can win the last battle, and it's going to be a complete ambush.
100%.
You know, it's so weird. I think I actually did have an issue with that, because if I had the same dream over and over and over and over, I don't know. I feel like it would be like, no, but a trap.
But what if in your world some people can dream and foretell things and see things?
Yeah, that's true. But like, I guess talents do come later in life. I don't know. To me, it was very much like it's a trap.
Yeah. I mean, especially because it takes a little bit of narcissism to be the leader of a group like that. Like to believe, like it just has to be there. Like, you know, I believe in that I can lead the Aes Sedai. Like it takes a little bit of believing in yourself and thinking yourself maybe not infallible, but pretty up there. You know what I mean? Yeah. Now, Siwan, this could be just Siwan assuming because she's having this dream. No one can penetrate my dreams. I'm the Emerald Seat.
Right.
And that's mainly because they can't fathom how much more powerful these other channelers were and are, like, or Balzaman is. Siuan is not capable of understanding how much more powerful they are than her. So
that is true.
So, like, I just think that she just is in the position that she's in. She's just assuming that if she's having a dream that's this poignant, it can only be the foretelling because she is so powerful. And that's not like, I'm not saying that that's a negative character aspect about her. She's operating off of actual facts. You know what I mean? Like, there is no one more powerful than her other than Moiraine.
Yeah.
She is between her and Moiraine, they're the two strongest Aes Sedai in the tower. So.
And Moiraine just goes on and on and on about how doubting yourself is the work of the Dark One.
Exactly.
So I think that's
true.
Explain why she and Siuan are just so, like, as soon as I get an idea, I'm doing it, because if I doubt, it's a trap by the Dark One.
Exactly.
So, like, it kind of, I don't know if the Dark One gave them that idea as well.
Exactly.
I mean, sorry, Balzaman. So it's like, and then don't doubt yourself, because every thought you have is 100% accurate, and do it right now.
Exactly. Don't worry. Bring the dragon to the eye of the world, but anyone who is in the dragon is going to die.
Yeah.
Like, so basically bring as few people to the eye of the world as possible. Please. Thank you. And the dragon. Thanks. Bye. Like, come on. All right. But real quick, if you enjoyed watching us today, please like, share, follow. This video will be on the YouTube, and it'll be in our Instagram stories, and it'll be on our Facebook. If you enjoy it, like, share, follow, leave comments. We'll talk. You know, this is my favorite thing. Is I like doing the hot takes and the pre-recorded stuff, but I really like talking to people, like, live. It's much easier for me personally, and I have a lot of fun talking to you, to Maureen and Kitty, but also all of you people. I like talking to everybody. So check out Kitty. Do you have another video coming out soon? I know you do. Kitty does the TikToks too, right?
I do the TikToks.
Plug your TikTok, please.
Bella did just show up. However, I did have another phone conversation with Alan, and we are going to be discussing floppy disks. I know.
Nice.
Exciting. But it is a thing.
Robert Jordan's
with Robert Jordan.
Yeah, Robert Jordan's feelings on the floppy disk. Robert Jordan's notes in particular, which is like what we're talking about here, his, like, the way he cataloged the Wheel of Time stuff that he kept is pretty funny. But yeah, you should check it out. And then Maureen, your podcast should be up, right? The podcast should be up, or tomorrow? Is it today?
Up today.
It's up today. All right, so check out the podcast. It'll be on Dragonmount.com, but it'll also be on our YouTube channel. So make sure to check it out there.
You can find all of our links at Dragonmount.com.
Yes, share it around, comment on everybody. Also, all of the rest of the Wheel of Time content creator community, everyone's doing amazing. Dusty Wheel, Daniel Green, The Wheel That Weaves, Twatcast, like everybody. There's a lot of really cool people out there. Make sure to give them love too. And happy holidays. We'll see you guys next week. Yeah, maybe for a special Christmas Day episode if people could show up.
Yep,
we'll see.
I'll be here.
Hey, all right. We'll see y'all later.
Bye.
All right, we're good.
Okay, cool.
Maybe.
Oops.
I think.
Now they see what I look like without a ring light.
Oh no! For some reason, it won't let me shut the stream off. All right, well, you guys get to hang out with us for another second, because every time I click shut the stream off, it says no. Oh, there we go. Okay, now we're leaving. I will see you guys later.